Hi there, John Anthony here, and today I'm going to talk to you about positive thinking and positive believing. There's actually a big difference, and I didn't find that out until later on than after I was first introduced to the concept of PMA, positive mental attitude. I joined a insurance company in 1990, January 1990. I knew I was going to join that company in the December the year before. So I looked through all their products. I knew all the products. I'd met with many of the other consultants represented at the time, and if they could do it, I could do it. The insurance company was purely commission only, and at that time, in the early 1990s, the interest rate was exceedingly high. I think it was something like 15.4%. So basically my mortgage and my outgoings was in the region of about £1,400. So I had to earn a minimum of £1,400 from my own endeavours through no salary, purely commission only, before I could even put food on the table. So I joined this company in the January. In the first month, I just went at it, and that first month my paycheck was well over £2,000. Wow, fantastic. This was going to be a fantastic ride, and I was in it for the long haul. In the February, I actually got banned from driving through the totting up procedures, all speeding tickets, and I've been a rep up to that time, and as a sales rep we tended to drive fast, get everywhere quickly. Driving was dead time. You wanted to get to the premises as soon as possible, get to your sale. So I got banned in the February. So that was it. I had to get to people's houses, their shops, their premises by public transport, lifts from friends, or taxis. Not the best way to turn up to someone's place by a taxi or public transport. But okay, that was it. I still felt so good about myself. Previous month I'd earned over £2,000. Fantastic, I could do this. So I did in the February. Fantastic, earned good money, and I carried on earning good money, enough to pay my way and money on top. And I was learning more things. I was getting more licenses. I got my gold license within that time as well. Fantastic. I was introduced to PMA when I joined this insurance company. PMA, positive mental attitude, and I was introduced to wonderful books: Think and Grow Rich, Psycho-Cybernetics, all the greats. The Anthony Robbins books, Unlimited Power, Awaken the Giant Within. That's it. I was learning, improving my craft, improving myself. Fantastic. So for that 6 months, without my driving license, without getting around in my car, I could still earn the money, and it's purely commission only. I got my driving license back in the August. Fantastic. I got my driving license back in the August, only a 6-month driving ban. So of course I was back out driving again, and then that was it. Brilliant. In the September, I only had my driving license for 1 month. In the September, first game of the football season, soccer, first game of the football season, I got injured. My knee got badly damaged. So I was in hospital for 2 weeks in the first operation, which turned out to be a 10-year long haul of 5 operations on my knee. So September, in hospital, 2 weeks, still felt positive, still felt I could do it, not a problem, knew what I had to do. I would hobble out of my hospital bed, make phone calls to people, arrange things, make appointments when I was out of hospital. Fantastic. But the trouble was, I was in and out of hospital, physiotherapy appointments. I had to see my doctor on a regular basis, go and have checkups in the hospital, have further operations. My income was dropping, and that was because I couldn't get out. I couldn't get out and see people. My manager, sales manager there in the insurance company, always said to me, "John, the business is not out there, it's in here." So of course I had to feed my mind on a regular basis, feed my mind with the good stuff, the good things, thinking positive, always thought positive. but it was knocking my confidence. When I was out of hospital for a period of time, I would then have to get to people's places on crutches, by public transport, taxis, lift from friends. Again, not the best way to turn up to someone's premises to arrange their finances, arrange their future, arrange their pensions, their mortgages, all the wonderful things that we could do for them. And there was me turning up on crutches. It was actually dripping away. It was knocking my confidence every single time. And my business was dropping. And of course, it was all my fault, because the business is not out there, the business is in here. So it was how I was thinking. I obviously wasn't thinking positive enough. So I read more books. I was reading a book a week. I've read countless books over that period. And what I was doing is I was turning the attention inwardly. If I wasn't doing it, it was my fault. I wasn't thinking positive enough. I wasn't making a sale. It's because I didn't think positive enough. So I'd read another book, listen to another tape. Brian Tracy, the great Zig Ziglar, Anthony Robbins tape series. I was putting all this in, but the problem is I didn't know at the time, is my belief was ebbing away. So how do you go from positive thinking to positive believing? Thinking is superficial. Thinking is up here. Belief is a feeling. Belief is a feeling, the emotion, the feeling. And that's what creates change in people's life, is the emotion, the feeling, the belief. So how do you think from thinking positive? How do you go from thinking positive to believing? Have you ever had a situation where you've been with somebody, something happens, and you know exactly what happened? Of course, we all see things, slightly different, but you know the facts. You know something happened, but they saw it differently because maybe it was against them or what have you. They had a different view of it, and they would recount that view, and every time you think, well, that ain't right. I'm sorry, but that's not right. But they would keep on recounting it, and then later on, after a period of time, the story would come back up and they would say, oh yeah, this happened and this happened. You know that didn't happen, but you're starting to doubt it because they have such conviction. And you think, well, actually, was I wrong? Were they right? Because they believed it. They believed it because they repeated a lie over and over and over again. And that's how we create our beliefs. It's through repeating that over and over and over again until it becomes a belief. And when it becomes a belief, that's it. Job done. That's true. In your eyes, your mind, your body, that's true. So belief, how do you create belief? Well, you create belief over time by telling yourself the same thing over and over again. You keep repeating a lie to yourself, in time you're going to believe it. You're going to believe it. You're going to know that is exactly what you feel, what you know about yourself. So I had to go from positive thinking to positive believing. So I returned to the classic, best book I've ever read on the subject of creating wealth, creating well-being, creating abundance in your life, in your future. Think and Grow Rich. And it says how to create belief. And the only way you're going to create belief is through autosuggestion, what you tell yourself, the self-talk, what goes inside your mind. You can say things and you can think something, but if you don't believe it, it isn't true. It's just superficial. And you're creating a wrong reality. You need to create the feeling, the belief. So if you want to believe something, and belief is going to create change in your life, belief needs to happen over time. So I had to go from thinking positive to believing positive. Because else I was in danger of losing my house, my profession, which I loved. I loved working with that company. And it was commission only, so I was getting paid what I was worth. At the time I probably wasn't worth that much because I couldn't really do the job properly. But I enjoyed working there and I wanted to carry on working there. So I had to go from thinking to believing. So I wrote out the character traits that I desired. I wasn't thinking about things negative, I had to think positive, but I had to believe it. So I wrote out my character traits, what I wanted for my life. And I repeated that every single morning and every single night. That was the first thing. Every morning I would get up, I would read that, read what I required for my life, for my personality, my character traits, for my habits. I had them all carefully written down. I'd read them, and then I would spend a few moments, 5, 10, 15 minutes maybe, feeling it, feeling actually living that way, believing it, and you believe things over time. So I did that every single morning. The first thing I did every single morning was read it, and then I believed it, I felt it. The last thing before I went to bed at night, I would read it, and then spend 5, 10, 15 minutes believing it, feeling it in my being, my very soul. I had to believe it. That was a necessity in my life, to believe it. Throughout the day I carried a card with me with what I required, and again I would believe it. That was my default situation, my belief. And I affected a massive change in my life. I went from thinking positive, and if someone says to you, well, the trouble is you're not thinking positive. You're not thinking positive. Well, that's great. You can think wonderful things, but if you don't believe it, nothing will change. Belief happens over time. Find out what you want. Find the character traits you desire for your life and for your future. Research them. Find them out. Once you find them out, try them on. Feel them. Believe them. Over time, you will notice a massive change in your life. Positive thinking is one thing. Positive belief is everything. Everything. My name is John Anthony, and I thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you. Goodbye.